Hello, everybody. This is Brennan Devon, aka Brennan the Bronze, depending on the platform that you're watching me on. And today I'm going to talk about how I learned Arabic. And this story is kind of complicated, or I shouldn't. It's dynamic because Arabic is a dynamic language. Arabic is a dynamic language, period. It's a big one. It's a lot of dialects, but it's also really juicy, I can say. Out of all my languages, it's kind of might be the juiciest, might be the kind of the coolest, but at the same time, a little on the complicated side. The story of how I learned and all of that is quite a story. So we're just gonna get into it. So we have to kind of go back to 2011. That's when I learned my first word. I think it was 2011, 2010, in that turn of the decade time. It was at a church function. So there was a man at the church I was attending at the time, and he was Lebanese. He was like a part of building community and sharing my language, and just building community. I'm gonna teach Arabic classes. I think it was like on a Thursday for like an hour or something like that. And so me and my family went to it. I think we only went to like one class, but I remember learning ana beddi. Ana beddi. Ana means I want, or ana is I, and beddi is I want in Lebanese, Arabic, and Syrian, and Palestinian. And if you're interested, if you're watching this, you're either learning Arabic, interested in learning Arabic, or you grew up speaking Arabic. And so if you're in any one of those, you'll know that different regions have different dialects. And this is what makes it so juicy and next level. So he was teaching his Lebanese Arabic dialect, and so that's the one thing I remember learning. And then about a year later, there was a classmate of mine, and she was Palestinian. And I remember there was like we were having like a potluck type activity in class, and someone brought in cake, and she was real, excitable and charismatic, and she just got up and was like, "Ana biddi," really, really loud, and everyone, kind of looked at her like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" Like, because she was very charismatic and, always cracking jokes and stuff like that. So people were kind of either like, "Oh my God," or "Oh my goodness, there she go again." Me, I was like, I remember that word, but like, what does that mean? And she was like, same thing. Ana means I, beddi means want, and then you say what you want. So she was like, this is cake. Someone had bought in cake for the little class party potluck thing. She was like, keka, ana biddi keka. And I remember in my mind, like, ana biddi cake. Like, I repeated that over and over. And so I didn't really, this is around 2011 or so, late towards the end of high school. And at the time, I was focusing more on Spanish, so I didn't really put too much effort into learning any more Arabic besides that one sentence. But in 2012, towards the end of high school, as I was getting ready to enter university, I remember I was looking at colleges and I wanted to turn on or turn off was if they had Arabic or not. And I remember one smaller private school I was looking at, they had a study abroad to Jordan. And I was like, okay, that's kind of worth it. But they were private, and you could get it private school with private costs. We'll say that. So I ended up going to school in Michigan. We're just going to say it because I'm proud of my school. We went to Wayne State University in Detroit. Okay, shout out. All right, shout out. And so I, at first, when I first got there, I was something in me was like, oh, I want to take Hebrew. And I sat in on first day of Hebrew class, and I was like, no. Let's focus on what we're doing. Arabic. We want to do Arabic. So I took Arabic 1010. And I remember going over the alphabet. And one thing, if you're learning, and I think this is really particular for if you're English speaking, primarily, I guess, yeah. If you're English speaking, right, or you're just learning a language that has a different script, that has a different alphabet, you got to take it all the way back to hook on phonics, okay? You got to take it back to the preschool, Head Start, wherever you learned how to read and write at home, on maybe the kids do it on YouTube nowadays. I don't know where you learn, but however you learn that CAT means at, cat. You got to take it back there because with Arabic, again, you can write it out with Romanized letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all of that. But there are sounds in Arabic that are not in English, or it can be Romanized. It can be, but like ain, ghain, kha, qa, ta, va, za, all of these. Like what do you put like a Z for ain? How do you put that? It's because it's not just the A. It really makes a difference. So, I just remember having to just go back to that preschool, kindergarten mode of learning alif, bet, tat, like each individual letter. And even again, this is a college class. There's people ranging from 17, myself, all the way to people in their 30s, and we're watching Arabic alphabet videos. Like literally, they're singing. It's preschool. It's giving preschool. It's giving, where's my sippy cup? It's giving, crying because I want to go home. It's giving elementary, okay? It all the way. And so really just starting from those essentials, I went from, learning bat, which is B, ya, ta, bait. Bait means house, so it's a 3-letter word. The same principles of, again, just learning. It's hooked on phonics, okay? That's how we were learning it, all right? And so going from there, learning 2-letter words to 3-letter words to 4-letter words to writing our own name to writing a sentence. Ana uridu. What's a simple sentence? Ana uridu keika. Or Ana adhab ila al madrasa. Like that's like, at that point it felt advanced to just be able to put together a sentence. Like, oh my gosh. And so I would, that was a really pivotal thing, learning Arabic. Now, another thing to consider in learning Arabic, there's al-Arabi al-Fusha, like there's Fusha Arabi, and then there's Amiya. Fusha is what people write in. It's what they speak on the news. It's what books are written in, newspapers written in. Anything written is going to be in Fusha. And then Amiya is how me and you talk, right? So, and it the same way you say, I'm finna go. I'm about to eat. What y'all doing? Like not what are y'all doing? Not I am going to eat. Like in the everyday dialect accent that you use, that is Amiya. So there's an Amiya for different by country and then also by region. But so in Iraq, there's Iraqi Arabic, there's Yemeni Arabic, there's in Saudi Arabia they have an accent, in the Emirates they have an accent, in Lebanon, and so it's not at first it's kind of like, oh my gosh, there's so, but if you kind of look at it as each state, or each region of the U.S., right, we have different accents, and then if you kind of zoom in a little more, like there's Southern accent, but then you kind of look and there's different there's a Texan accent. Texan sounds a little different from Alabama, which sounds a little different from North Carolina, which sounds a little different from Louisiana. And then if you kind of go in a little more, maybe people in Houston sound one way, and maybe people in Dallas, Fort Worth sound another way. People in Virginia sound one way, where some people in another part of DMV sound another way. It's very similar in that regard. So that was, we were learning Fusha Arabi. So again, if you're taking a class, you're more than likely going to learn Fusha Arabi, and then if you have friends or people they're going to speak their dialect. So in Michigan, there's a lot of Lebanese, there's a lot of Iraqi, there's a lot of Palestinian, there's a lot of Iraqi. But primarily within my friend group and my peers at the time, they were Palestinian. So I learned a lot of Palestinian words on the side. And that was something that I really had to do on the side. So that's how I learned, أستطيع أن أتكلم اللغة العربية. My Fusha, again, I read it, I write it, but I don't speak it because nobody speaks it. And if you speak it, people are going to be like, you sound like Shakespeare. Like that's is really the vibes it's giving. So that's why I would say, like, أقدر أحكي عربي. بدي روح المدرسة. بدي روح المدرسة, I want to go to school, versus أريد أن أذهب إلى المدرسة. Like, I want to go to school. It's a difference. So that was the main thing. So from 2013 to about 2015, I was taking actual classes where I would learn, first class, learning alphabet, writing my name, 2-letter, 3-letter, 4-letter words, small sentences. And then a semester and a year later, I would write, sentences and then paragraphs, and then doing a little 3-minute presentation all the way to doing like a little whole presentation with PowerPoints and slides and having to type papers in it. So, and again, that would be with the formal Shakespeare like Fusha Arabi. And on the side, I would, again, YouTube for any language. We live in a digital age. YouTube is your best friend. You can watch TV, listen to music. Stuff 20 years ago, I mean, we could even say, safe to say, 10 years ago, like YouTube in 2012 was a different land than YouTube now. Like YouTube, you can go and look at the top videos and you can switch your country to Iraq. Now, what's the poppin' music in Iraq this week? What's the poppin' YouTubers in Iraq this week? You can get so honed in, it's insane. And then on top of going to a library, again, if you're wanting to learn a specific accent, you would go, on Amazon. That's another thing. Amazon, you can look up, and that's what I did. I would look up Palestinian dialect when I wanted to learn more Gulf or Khaliji dialect. And that's like for Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, all of that region. Again, you can get very specific on each country, but if you kind of just want a general flavor of how they're speaking, you can find books like that on Amazon. And then again, you find a TV show, you look up Yemeni soap operas, boom, you're tapped in, and that, and I will really say, especially too, if you're wanting to learn spoken, the slang, the dialect, you want to really try to get the help of people around you. So if you work somewhere, if you're on a chat room, if you're interacting with people in the YouTube comments, whatever, because they're going to help kind of sharpen and hone and just get your language together, so where you're sounding as close as possible and just sounding like one of the gang. That's the main thing. Because one personal experience I had is mixing dialects. So like I said, I was learning Palestinian Arabic, and then I started learning Gulf dialect, so I would put two in the same sentence, and people understand you. I mean, because it's all Arabic. At the same time, they're like, "Oh my gosh, your Arabic's like a mix, it's like a cocktail. Oh my gosh." So now I'm just making sure that whoever I'm speaking to, I'm speaking in an accent that's more relevant. Same thing that you would do in English. It's called code switching. Same way you talk to your friends versus how you talk to your relatives back home versus how you talk to your boss. You're going to use 3 different, types of speech, 3 different sets of words, slang. Even you got your little, cheesy water cooler slang or little slang you might use with your boss. It's fun, but it's nothing that you would say maybe at home, So just having that. And again, if you come from a community where code switching is a thing, whether it's Black English, Spanish, another language, whatever you're speaking, you know what that's like. Bilingualism, code switching. So that is definitely something that would happen within Arabic. If you're writing it and you're using Fusha Arabi, or if you're speaking and you're speaking a dialect, you're going to be code switching in that way. So that was just my experience so far learning Arabi. It's still an ongoing journey. I listen to people even now like Nancy Ajram, Mohammed Ashahi from the Emirates. I listen to Mohammed Asaf from Palestine. I listen to Hussein Al-Jasmi, who's from the Emirates as well. I really like music from the Emirates. It's something about them. They got something going. It's a lot of bass in their music, a lot of drums, and I love that. I'm kind of getting into Sudani music, just a little bit there. So that's my experience. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this. And you can watch my previous videos where I'm speaking more Arabic, just talking about random stuff. And then I'll likely be uploading more videos on different topics in Arabic as well. So thank you guys so much for watching up until now. If you have any questions, any comments, want to share your own personal experience, please put your comments right below. And we need to get a conversation going with people who are learning Arabic, because it's quite an experience, and the more the merrier. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.